So there's a lot of stuff going on with anti-abortion laws right now. I don't want to say abortion, but anti-abortion laws. Most significantly, and most recently, this week, Alabama just passed a law which has been the most severe so far to ban abortion at any stage.
I thought abortion was legal.
It is, which is why the states that are trying to pass these, none of them are in effect yet. They have either been contended or they will be contended. But I think that they're seeking to overturn Roe versus Wade,
That's exactly
which is what makes abortion legal. So far, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio, and Georgia have passed the bills, which they're calling a heartbeat law, which means that as early as we can perceive an infant's heartbeat,
fetal heartbeat, yeah.
Right, there's a ban on abortion. But Alabama goes one step further, takes the cake, and says there's no time frame. The outright outlaw of abortion, period. 6 weeks, nope. 4 weeks, nope. 2 weeks, nope. Sperm just went in, nope.
Republicans are trying to go to the Supreme Court because they know that Roe v. Wade at the Supreme Court, they have more Republicans. Meaning, it's unclear whether or not it would survive a Supreme Court challenge. Because that's essentially what they're doing. They're saying, we're going to be so provocative that you're going to have to intervene. Now, here's the catch. A federal government that's under a Donald Trump is not going to intervene in that. Meaning, there is going to be no challenge to this from the standpoint of the federal government challenging this. Like, think of segregation. Whereas the federal government says segregation is illegal in this country. And you have people in the various southern states saying, fuck the federal government, segregation now and segregation forever. And the federal government sitting in troops to ensure that segregation is illegal. You know what I mean? Like, that's the federal government getting involved, asserting itself in regards to the sovereignty over states. That's not going to take place under a Republican president. Meaning the abortion center that tries to be open saying it is our law, it is our right to have this procedure, is not going to be protected by a Donald Trump administration, under Mike Pence administration. Under a Sanders administration, Sanders would likely send in the National Guards to protect those places.
Now, there are, so far, Kansas is the only state that I know of, has signed abortion into their state legislation, that abortion is a constitutional right. Because they're hoping to give... I can't think of the word right now, but
coverage.
Right.
They're trying to cover
in case Roe versus Wade is overturned.
Because understand, federal law supersedes state law, but Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court decision, meaning technically it's not a law in the strictest sense of law. It's just that any law that a state passes that goes against it is going to be struck down because the Supreme Court has already said it's legal. Now, Republicans have heard that and say, okay, well, we can go as close to the line as possible. We can get right here. Which at a certain point becomes nonsensical. You're technically banning abortion and ignoring the spirit of what these guys were saying. When this gets to the point, a federal law needs to be passed in order to make sure that this is a clear right of women to be able to do and get rid of this shenanigans about 8 months and all this other stuff. Kansas...
8 months.
It's 8 weeks, I'm sorry. Kansas is trying to say, well, look, when this fails, when this goes to pot, we want to ensure that the women in this country are, in our state at least, are protected. Like I said, there's no federal law going against or for abortion in this case. This is purely just law from the standpoint of the judicial branch. So these guys are trying to protect their state.
Yeah, this was done on Friday.
That's amazing that this happened in Kansas.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you remember that thing, What's the Matter with Kansas? Where they had these extreme right-wingers taking over Kansas?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh, I see. Kansas Supreme Court. This is not the legislature. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Kansas Supreme Court in its decision Friday morning ruling that having the option to get an abortion is a right in the state. You gotta be honest, this needs to be made into a law. The judicial decisions are too fickle.
So that means whatever law is put into place in Kansas, once it goes into the court system, right, this is going to say, no, constitutional right.
Yeah.
All right, so really quickly, while we're still on this topic, Joel...
Wait. No. That's not what I mean. It's not... The law in Kansas can be changed. The judicial branch is just interpreting the law as is, saying it's a constitutional right.
I know that. That's what I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I understand. Joel Sass, along this topic, Joel, thank you for the super chat. Joel says, what's the capitalist advantage to limiting abortion? More low-wage workers in the future, higher military conscription?
It's not capitalist.
Jailing of women?
It's ideological.
Yeah.
It's ideological. It's like, it's like there's a dovetail between capitalists getting their hands on the resources of Venezuela and capitalists having geopolitical influence. John Bolton probably doesn't all that much care about the capitalist aspect until he does care about the other aspect of this notion of control, like this geopolitical control that the United States should be able to run roughshod over the rest of the world.
In that same vein, with you saying that it is ideology, something that I found on Facebook the other day, in 2016, can you pull the Poland one? In 2016, in Poland, women, thousands of women, in October,
million. If I'm not mistaken, it was 6 million women, I thought. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Why did I say 6 was in my head? Okay, 60
where you
cities.
got that from.
Okay.
But over 60 cities, thousands of women went on strike. They called it Black Monday.
Yeah.
And they didn't show up to work to protest the strict abortion laws that were being proposed. And I say this, and I bring this up in relation to your ideology statement, because Catholicism in Poland, and one of the groups was protesting at a government building on that day, and they were holding up signs that says, "We want doctors, not missionaries."
Yeah. Somebody else said we can get it. How did they say it? Abortion is illegal, or abortion can be changed unlike, I know what it is. Government can be changed unlike abortion laws.
Can be terminated.
Unlike pregnancy. Right. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Too.
Yeah, and there are pictures that are amazing. All these women are in black, flooding the streets.
Yeah.
Like, it's an odd thing. They were looking at it from above, and you have this image of all of these women.
Yeah, they dressed in black.
Wearing like umbrellas and everything else. Now, I've been to Poland, and meeting.
Not Warsaw.
You were in Czech. You never been to Poland.
Well, I didn't cross over.
You didn't cross over the line.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay. I mean, I was right up the street.
Hate to bring up the technicalities.
I was right up the street.
You were like 10 minutes away. Like, literally like 10 minutes away. Like, when you're crossing from Czech Republic into Poland, it's like nothing. Like, it's like walking from Ashland to Richmond or something. Like, it's the border's not even, barely even there. But no, the women in Poland, they're like everywhere else. And, this notion, it's odd having a European city this way. Because, many of the European cities, these women are, I don't want to...
Kind of liberated.
Liberated is the right word for it. I was going to use a word that people were getting angry at, but I didn't mean any negative connotation to it. But my point is, I'm shocked that this is the way this is. Like,
well, this is a very, very religious country.
Yeah.
And that's what they were saying, is that doctors often refuse to give abortions because of religious reasons religious beliefs. The doctors will say that they'll refuse to give abortions.
Well, in this case, the women are asserting themselves.
Yeah. And this, I think, is a lot better than the Alyssa Milano no sex strike.
What's the difference?
This is actually affecting... government had to be shut down. When you think about half of your workforce going out for the day, that's affecting everybody.
And by the way, and like you said, they shut down government,
right.
All sorts of buildings, like all sorts of government institutions were shut down because of what these women did.
Right.
That's a hell of a lot better than,
you're not getting any.
You're not getting any tonight, buddy. Because this affects everybody. This is a cascading thing. Like you said, well, what if somebody is gay? What if somebody is this? Well, in this case, whether you're gay, straight, bi, whatever, if you're not able to get on the bus because the bus is shut down, if you're not able to get your X or your Y or get
postal
government
service
shut down, all that stuff. So, God bless them.
Yeah.
God bless them.
So, there's going to be a lot of contention, a lot of challenging against all of these state bills that are being passed.
Oh, yeah.
So keep an eye out for that.
Because the United States is not Poland. We are... This is not an overly religious nation, with the exception of, not overtly religious, let's say it that way, with the exception of certain areas within the country. So they're doing this for ideological reasons, that you may have some people who are religious who are able to get in power and so forth, but the country hates this.
I think they said that statistically most people in Alabama were against these strict laws. Another key point to note in the Alabama bill is that not only does it outlaw abortion at any stage in the pregnancy, it also takes out the stipulation on abortion allowance for incest and rape. A lot of the other stricter laws allow for abortion at a later time in the pregnancy based on, rape or
incest.
Yeah, rape or incest, mostly for rape. But Alabama says no. Still, the only leniency they give is for extreme medical emergencies. Otherwise, Alabama says no abortions, period.